evening and a warm welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Hishain Ali and let's have a look at the headlines first. New laws mandatory to present agreements related to state properties in Parliament before signing, Premier stresses. Business Chamber states national policy for the small and medium industries is a long overdue necessity. News in detail. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa stresses the need of introducing new laws to making it obligatory to present agreements related to state properties in Parliament before signing those by politicians. While giving this assurance speaking to a forum of professionals in Colombo yesterday, he also criticized the former good governance regime for the damage done on the country's then flourishing economy.
මේ වසංගතයේ ලංකාවට එනකොටත් යාපාන ආණ්ඩුවේ වැඩ නිසා ලංකාවේ ආර්ථිකය බිමට සමතලා කරලා තිබුණයි කියලා කිව්වොත් ඒක නිවැරදි කියලායි මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ. 2015 යාපාන ආණ්ඩුව බලයට එනකොට තිබුණු සාමාන්‍ය ආර්ථික වර්ධන වේගය 2019 අවසන් වෙනකොට තුනෙන් පංගුවකට අඩු වෙලා තිබුණා කියන එක ඔබ දන්නවා. සමස්ත ණය බර 74කින් වැඩි වෙලා තිබුණා. යහපාලන ආණ්ඩුවේ අවුරුදු 4මාර ඇතුළත ශ්‍රී ලංකා සංවර්ධන බැඳුම් කර සවරින් බොන්ඩ් නිකුත් කිරීමෙන් විතරක් ඇමරිකානු ඩොලර් බිලියන 18කට වඩා වැඩියෙන් විදේශ විනිමය ණය අරගෙන තිබුණා. රුපියලේ වටිනකම 40කින් පහත බහලා තිබුණා. මේ ආර්ථික පරිහානියට කිසිම ජාත්‍යන්තර හේතුවක් තිබුණේ නැහැ කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා. මේ කාලය තුල ඇමරිකාව, ජර්මනිය, ඉන්දියාව, බංග්ලාදේශය වේගයෙන් ඉදිරියට ගියා. අපි ආර්ථික වශයෙන් පිරිහුණා කියලා පිළිගත යුතුයි. නමුත් යහපාලන ආණ්ඩුව ගත්ත ණය වලින් කරපු දෙයක් තියනවාද කියලා අපි සොයා බලුවොත් අත් වශයෙන්ම මොනවත් වෙලා නැහැ. හම්බන්තොට වරායේ චීනයට දීපු නිසා කොළඹ වරායේ නැගෙනහිර පර්යාන්තය ඉන්දියාවට දෙන්න යහපාලක එකකතාව අත්සන් කරලා තිබුණා. රජයේ දේපල හෝ වෙනත් කාරණා සම්බන්ධ එකකතා අත්සන් කරන්න කලින් ඒවා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම අනිවාර්ය කරන නීති හඳුන්වලා දිය යුතුයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා. කොහොම හරි අපිට අද සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ඉතුරු වෙලා තියෙන සුන්බුන් ටික එකතු කරගෙන රට ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන එකයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා.
Chamber of Sri Lanka Small and Medium Industries point out that national policy for the small and medium industries is a long overdue necessity and almost all the elected government officials have neglected that fact. This was revealed by advisor to the Chamber, Chaminda Kumarasiri, addressing a media briefing this evening in Colombo.
We as a nation has three major issues in my view to fix this country. One is the debt issue. Second is we have an enormous amount of imports and we have a dependency syndrome. So if you look at the history, it's only 1977 when the economy was open, you find an excess in the export sector over and above imports. Since then, up until now, we have imports above exports. If we talk about the current context, our imports are double the exports, which has come down drastically during the last couple of months because of the initiatives by the government. So the other issue that we have is increasing export. So curtailing debt, reducing imports, increasing exports. All these three key initiatives, three key strategies can only be driven by one strategy. That is developing local industries. Unfortunately, this segment has been neglected in a big way in the past, despite the fact that this segment is contributing over 70% to the economy.
Advisor to the Chamber of Sri Lanka Small and Medium Industries, Chaminda Kumarasiri, also highlighted the necessity of facilitating the entrepreneurs, startups and the businesses to establish without discouraging them to give up their innovative ideas.
The second thing is we do not have coordinated or holistic approach from the government sector to cater to this segment. So we have different departments coming under different ministries and various governmental organizations catering to this segment from different aspects, but we do not have coordinated approach from the government side to cater to this segment. That's the second issue that we have identified at the national level. The third point is we do not have in this country what we call an SME ecosystem. In simple terms, what it means is, if you look at a person who has an idea, from the idea generation point of view, from that point up until the person is established as an entrepreneur or a business, there has to be a hand-holding with all the necessary support from all angles. Today we don't have that. that we have to go to different departments, different places, and in the process, we have seen many players, many investors, many startups give up, and some have to spend years to get certain clearances done. That was the experience we had. Another issue that we had was lack of low-cost funding. There are other barriers that they cannot get into the formal sector because there are a lot of rules, procedures, and more importantly, the collateral. So most of these SME sector people don't have collateral. So that has been one of the major areas. And another issue that we have identified at the national level is non-availability of a national level database of the SMEs in the country.
Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break. Welcome back after the break. Election monitoring body PAFREL states that even though there is a decrease in election violence complaints compared to the previous elections, it is observed that the political parties and candidates are not paying considerable attention to the COVID-19 related health guidelines at the propaganda campaigns. These observations were brought forward to the media when the PAFREL convened a press conference in Colombo today morning.
The violence is reduced compared with the past elections. So we have already got only 70 complaints with regard to the violence, and there are only 18 cases people were admitted to the hospital, and 32 people are in the hospital because of the violence incidents. The inter-party violence on that, there are only 9 cases, and in between the parties there are 14 cases we have reported. And also we wanted to emphasize the misuse of the government resources and the government power. Again, compared with the past elections, this time it's less number of cases we have reported, but there are some cases are influenced across the country for the entire election process, such as graduates appointment, 50,000 graduate appointment, and 15,000 village program, and also the COVID response program during a COVID period. 5,000 rupees has given each and every household where the people are affected. That also used for a political campaign, unfortunately. But if you look at the overall picture, compared with the past elections, it's little less with the other elections. And most of the parties, most of the candidates did not consider the COVID guideline. We have reported 288 cases that the candidates are not following the COVID regulations.
Speaking further, Executive Director of PAFREL, Rohana Hettiarachchi, requests the voters to come to the polling stations without any fears to exercise their franchise, claiming that the Election Commission, together with Health Ministry, have taken steps to adopt the most secure healthcare provisions for polling stations.
We have given a special attention in these elections on women's the candidate. We wanted to strengthen the women's participation in Sri Lanka, so therefore we have given a special attention on that. But voters need to come and vote, and they need to make sure wearing face mask, and they need to make sure that they are coming with the pen and also the poll card if they have, or otherwise without poll card you can vote, but you have to prove your identity and your name should be appeared in the 2019 list. So we appeal all the voters in this country, because there are little fear that whether voters will come and vote in these elections, because everybody should be aware this is the parliamentary elections. So if we are unable to bring a capable quality people in this parliament, then no point just to vote in the elections. So this is very important elections for each and every citizens of this country. So the next parliament, if we are unable to bring the good people next parliament, so they will not take policy decisions, or they will not make law for us, and they will not safeguard our money in the parliament.
The World Trade Organization stresses that global trade has been hit by new and accumulated import limitations, just as economies need to rebuild in the COVID-19 crisis. This was mentioned in a recent media report issued by the World Trade Organization. Accordingly, the World Trade Organization says global trade has been hampered by new and accumulated import restrictions. But it further states that some export constraints imposed on surgical masks, medicine and medical equipment early in pandemic are being rolled back. WTO Director General Roberto Azevedo says although the full impact of the pandemic is not yet reflected fully in trade statistics, it is expected to be very substantial. The WTO said last month that estimates for the second quarter of 2020 indicated a year-on-year drop in world trade of about 18%. Stay tuned for stock updates. Welcome back after the break. The trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The All Share Price Index dropped 5.9 points to close at 5,088.10 and the S&P SL20 dropped 9.69 points to close at 2,153.40. The turnover was 1 billion rupees and over 34 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. And that's all news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care. Good night.